So there's a small YouTube channel named BoxShorts, and yes guys, this time it's actually a small content creator. Holy crap, Willie Tato's finally got it right. Holy smokes, this is a monumental moment. But anyways, this content creator makes a lot of Minecraft content, and I actually collaborated with him on a stream. I'm gonna cut the bull nuts here, and if you saw my community post, you would know I frequently post updates there to my content if there's gonna be any changes to my schedule, if there's a shout out that I forgot to throw in, if there's I don't know, a resource that I didn't credit down below, then, I would post it on my community post, and I frequently post updates to my channel in general there, really, and sometimes life updates or future plans for my content. And if you check those, you would know that he recently came under fire, and by he, I mean BoxShorts, he recently came under fire for a grocery list of accusations made by a guy named Kristopher on air. This guy was, if you can even fathom the idea, matching P. Diddy in terms of accusations, so buckle up because this is going to be a very long video. The script that I wrote last night is 10 pages. I only got 6 to 7 hours of sleep. I don't even know how much sleep I got, but I needed to revise the script. I needed to make sure that I tackled everything possible. And to give you an idea on the amount of allegations against this guy, let me hit you with the entire book. He's been hit with homophobia accusations, transphobia allegations, racism allegations, trying to force religion on this platform, breaking not only Discord TOS but YouTube TOS as well, lazy content, and working with underage kids. Primarily another small YouTuber named Pizza, although this point is kind of moot because he himself is a kid. Box is apparently 15. However, I will still go over this part because it's still very important to talk about. Oh, and don't get me wrong, the person making these accusations, Kristopher on air, is not exactly a good person either, but I wouldn't say he's Satan or anything, but he's kind of at fault here as well, a little bit. He also has some of these accusations running on him as well, and although they are not as severe as BoxShorts allegations, they are still worth talking about nonetheless. He broke TOS by evading restrictions placed on his account by Box through creating several different YouTube channels, and although I do not condone such behavior whatsoever on this platform, it is easy to see why he did what he did, and I'll explain that later. He's kind of hypocritical by calling Box's content lazy when he himself admitted that his shorts are really easy to create, or relatively easy to create. But that point is kind of moot. I'll explain why later on. It's not really worth talking about because he's not really, he explains it later on. And also sending NSFW text chats to other kids, although he does explain this later as well, so it might not be that big of a deal depending on how you view such actions. Personally, I'm kind of against it because it's kind of weird for you to be calling someone out while at the same time doing some other things that are kind of borderline sketchy. And finally, potentially getting involved with people under the age of 13 himself, although this point is still unknown. It's more of a point that he's been lazy. It's a pretty long list of accusations, and I have been talking to both sides to gain the proper information, and as Chris said himself, I was looking into what was said, the content they posted about this stuff, the community posts, all the nitty-gritty, as well as getting DM logs from both sides that have been confirmed to not be edited and have also been confirmed to be from, the people there, I guess, and are real. From my point of view, initially I was on Box's side because, he was the first guy I collaborated with, and I was like, oh yeah, this is total BS. There's no way any of this is real. But the more I look into it, the more I can't really defend any of this stuff. Even giving them the benefit of the doubt, it's still bad nonetheless, pretty substantially bad. And in all honesty, as much as I appreciate Box being my first real collaboration, being my first real network in the content creation space, I can't defend you, man. I'm sorry, but even Jayoma can't defend these allegations. Let alone me, I can't even defend these allegations. But in order to prove that first, I need to talk about Chris's allegations. Because although he's done and said some stuff behind the scenes, he hasn't been nearly as bad as you were. And in order to talk about these allegations properly, I need to establish the type of person who's making them, if that makes sense. So that way, maybe I can, mitigate it, but I can't really defend you, man. This is some pretty bad stuff. And I encourage everyone here not to harass the parties involved, of course. You aren't better than the people I call out by doing so. I will try to make this video as fun as I can, but it's kind of hard to make this video fun to watch without bringing really heavy topics into this. So, like Higuruma from JJK, I'm gonna come out and try to be the judge, jury, and executioner. And speaking of Higuruma, I am in no way a legal professional. I don't know much about law, and I have no certifications whatsoever. Everything here is just allegations and should be treated as such. I'm gonna start by admitting some of my own faults, as well as establish the premise in which I am fighting this argument. So please watch until the end. If you're just here for the allegations, then skip to the next section. I'll have this split up into different sections, but I highly encourage you to listen to what I have to say in this section. First off, religion plays a huge part in this drama somehow. BoxShorts, Pizza, and I are Catholic. I don't know what denomination of Christianity they are, but since they acknowledge Jesus, I'm assuming they're Catholic. I'm making an argument against religion because this is one of the catalysts that started this entire thing in the first place. I firmly believe that we should separate religion from entertainment because religion is more on the political side. It's more talking about what policies, oh my god, should be enacted and enforced in order for, people to be holier, get reincarnated better, whatever you believe in, and those policies that would enforce those beliefs. And the hill that I will die on with a smile on my face is the hill of separating politics from entertainment. There's three main reasons why I believe that we should separate religion from entertainment. First of all, look at the St. Lucie mascot. Pope, what in the holy moly guacamole is this? You're incorporating anime, which is highly associated with degeneracy and gooning, to Catholicism. Which, don't get me wrong, anime is a sacred, holy thing, but we can't just try to connect with the youth in this way, because you're trying to relate them through entertainment instead of through selfish desires. And the anime so far, guys, you can't argue with me here. Every single anime has at least some sexually explicit episodes. If you really want to relate to the youth, try and talk about why believing in the Bible would benefit them personally. That's how you really get to them. Humans produce desired results the most whenever they are given extrinsic motivation, which is why it's best to connect intrinsic motivations to extrinsic ones, if that makes sense. Oh, by the way, intrinsic motivation is just the ability to, or the motivation to better yourself as a person, whereas extrinsic is more of monetary gain. What do they get out of it? Do they get any favors out of it, etc.? Those are the two different motivations. Sorry, I need to study for AP Psych, and it's just living rent-free in my head. Second of all, the reason why we can't be using religious arguments is because not everyone believes in religion. One of the many reasons why Box is beefing with Chris in the first place is because he's trying to preach the Bible to Chris, an atheist. That's like me talking, to a native Vietnamese person with no English experience whatsoever, and then I'm just talking to them in English going oh yeah, my day has been X, Y, and Z. They won't understand half the stuff that comes out of my mouth, and even if they did, they wouldn't relate to it because it doesn't pertain to their cultural experiences, or in this case, religious beliefs, because they don't live in that world. The reason why I want to clear the air with the religion argument is because one of the allegations include heavily religiously backed arguments on homophobia, on homosexuality in general, and that's also why I would like to remove that from the equation. Simply because it can't lead us to a better society, it can't lead us to a proper answer for society's problems without satisfying the majority needs. Finally, to start off my third point, have you ever wondered why governments go by a 2/3 majority? It's because statistically it ensures that the decision wasn't made by pure luck, as the government needs to make decisions that are guaranteed to ensure the safety, security, and interests of the general public. These types of decisions can't be won by pure luck alone. And guess why I'm mentioning the 2/3 thing? It's because Christians only make up 32% of the world population. That means that although Christians are 1% shy from being 1/3 of the population, not every single Christian will be against homosexuality, like me for instance. And statistically speaking, if any one of you right now are against homosexuality, many of the people are just bandwagoning on homophobia and thinking that it's cringe. You are most likely part of the minority in this controversial topic, because the majority of people are actually for homosexuality and same-sex marriages. And that is just something that people need to think about. And not only that, we need to take into account that not every single Christian is homophobic, if that makes sense. Not every single Christian follows the Bible exactly, because the overall themes are love and all that other stuff. So for you to be saying that it's a sin and all that other stuff, not everyone agrees on that. In fact, the Bible doesn't sexually or Jesus, even Jesus, has not been stated in the Bible to be saying that homosexuality explicitly is a sin. And even if he did, there is also a thing about, love and love your neighbor as much as you love yourself, which, like, it's not a thing that you should be preaching about against, oh, you're going to go to hell if you sin. No. And either way, I'll dive more into this later, but I'm just like getting into like the brass tacks of it. Even if you wanted to make a religious argument out of homosexuality and against it, you can't really do that, because the Bible also talks about how you should love everyone as much as you love yourself. And you're supposed to love your spouse as much as yourself. Therefore, like, through the transitive property of, equality or whatever, where A equals B, B equals C, therefore A equals C, right? So if you're supposed to love your spouse as much as you love yourself, and if you're supposed to love, everyone else as much as you love yourself, wouldn't that mean that you would be able to love other people as much as your spouse? Or in this case, we're assuming that the spouse is a female, therefore you can also say that it's a male. And the thing is, I know some Christians out there that are watching this video, they're going to be saying, oh, you're using the Bible against, itself and against its intended consequences or whatever against the church, and therefore you yourself are sinning right now. And to that, I have to say, shouldn't we learn more from the Bible and be more open-minded about the Bible? Because it's supposed to be, telling us how to live our lives. But if it's telling us two different and completely opposite things, do you see the problem there? It's not exactly a good thing to be following the Bible exactly when it was written and carried out by man. Because there's no part in the Bible, I believe, where it doesn't, where, like, a human didn't write out the words that God was whispering into his ear. And even if we did want to make the argument that, God brought down the Bible to earth, wouldn't that be a really weird thing to be doing? Because if we are sinners, right, and God is perfect, why did he create us as sinners? And yeah, he does loathe the time where he created us as sinners, but the problem here is that if God is perfect and God acknowledges that that's a mistake, do you see where the contradictions in the Bible lie? Like, that's not a good thing. So that's why we can't be having religious arguments. Is because, number one, St. Lucy is a wacko. Number two, not everyone believes in religion. And number three, making religious arguments is inconsistent because you can use the religion against the argument and therefore circular reasoning. The next thing I would like to address is that, and this is where it gets a little bit personal, is that I myself used to think what Box was about transphobia and homophobia, and it was mainly because I didn't have any real understanding towards these things and thought that there was no reason to be doing these things. After all, why should I have to change myself for others, And on top of that, the Catholicism beliefs say that, homosexuality is a sin, and, you have to avoid all things sin, therefore, A equals B equals C, avoid homosexuality. And that's something that I really regret. And I feel like Catholicism is also brainwashing these people because there's so many inconsistencies in the Bible that it feels more like a rules for thee and not for me type of thing. And I'll do another video diving in depth as a Catholic person why Catholicism is like brainwashing the youth. And putting that aside for a moment, I learned that the best thing to do whenever you acknowledge that you're discriminatory is to hang out with the people that you dislike. And strangely enough, it seems kind of counterproductive at first. Why would I hang out with a group of people that I don't relate with, let alone a group of people that I dislike? But then over time, the more I hung around LGBTQ people, I realized that they're not really LGBTQ people or anything special. They're just people with different innate interests, and the only reason why they might seem strange is because they're all dealing with gender dysphoria and sexuality problems. I know a person in one of my classes who is a lesbian, and believe it or not, she is a normal like she is a normal person, and I know this shouldn't has come as a shock to me, but I mean, as a Catholic person, just coming out and like, you know, being more aware of the people around me, and that not everyone has to follow exactly what the Bible says, and like how, oh, we shouldn't be, you know, working on the Bible, but rather working on logic and working on, you know, science and stuff like that. These people are normal people. The reason why they are strange is because they're dealing with gender dysphoria and sexuality problems, which really deteriorates their mental health, and that really sucks, and that's something that we need to start looking out for. And other than the issues that they struggle with because society hasn't taken proper care of them, they're normal people such as you and I. And if you're watching this and I have discriminated against you in some way IRL, especially during middle school, I was a horrible person during middle school. I know this won't mean much to you, it probably won't mean anything, but I just want to say that I sincerely apologize, and I'm really sorry for if I've done anything to harm you solely because of your identity whatsoever. I'm still trying my best to break and throw away the ignorant mindset I once had, and I'm still trying to, you know, learn more about the people around me and like the interests people may or may not have, and just come to a mutual understanding that as long as it doesn't harm me or anyone else around them whatsoever, which homosexuality, transphobia, all of this stuff, it objectively doesn't really. It's two consenting adults at the end of the day. And yeah, it's just something that I really feel sorry about, and I'm trying to be a better, you know, be a better person for society through spreading this awareness, through helping people understand that not only is brain rot content rotting society right now, that homosexuality and transitioning transgender people, they're not bad things. They are things that we should start learning to integrate into society. They're not aliens by any means. And the reason why I mentioned my background is because that somewhere out there, even though this argument probably won't convince you, if you do not like anyone who is associated with the LGBTQ, the best way to quote-unquote deal with them is to just either hang out with them more and get to know them. Who knows, maybe you learn that they're just as human as anyone else. Or just don't hang out with them at all. Leave them be. Be respectful about it and just let them do their own thing while you do your own. If you think that what you're doing will secure you like the path to heaven or whatever, then yeah, just do what you're doing. And yeah, that's about it. However, if you do choose the former, just talk with them, you know, just hang out with them, talk with them, converse, how was your day, X, Y, and Z, whatever. And just as religion doesn't change who you are, neither does sexuality. Humans are humans no matter what, and at the end of the day, the species of Homo sapien are nothing but Homo sapien. We all share this space rock, and we should all learn how to live with one another on this space rock, because at the end of the day, as long as we're not harming each other in any way, no one is different from each other. Another reason why I mentioned my background is to not only be transparent with everyone, but it's also because I want people to understand people change, and I'm no exception. The people, especially you, the viewer watching this video, need to understand the background in which I'm coming from in order to making arguments in favor of the LGBTQ. I am a person who used to be transphobic and homophobic, but I've changed, and I've learned, and I've surrounded myself with these people, and I've learned that, you know, these aren't good things to be having, because it would just be hypocritical of what society is advocating. Another reason why I mentioned my background is because not only do I want to be transparent with everyone about my past, because I know that I was a horrible person as like a middle schooler and an elementary schooler. I wasn't a good person, and I want to be more open about these things, because I realize the more I let it affect me, the more, you know, I'm gonna have this guilty conscience of calling people out, and that's just something that I want people to understand. And the people, specifically you, the viewer watching the video, need to understand the background in which I am coming from to be making arguments in favor of the LGBTQ. I was a person who was not a fan of this stuff, but then I realized that they're not really any different. They're just normal people who have a few problems because society isn't accommodating for them. But putting aside my past, what I'm here to do is not only address the allegations against someone whom I have associated with, but to finally partially right the things that I have wronged, because I know that the things I have done cannot really be forgiven. So the only thing I can really do now is move forward and try and right the things that I have wronged. And I also want people to change through my YouTube videos, and also myself to change, to shaping myself and throwing out my ideas around to other people and fostering a community that encourages discussion instead of argumentation in order to prevent them from doing the same mistakes I have once made. And before I begin the video, I just want to say that these are all allegations, of course, and everything presented here is simply evidence of a larger story that I myself am trying to piece together to this day in order for everyone to understand and be aware of the recent events that are occurring right now in the community that I have fostered and the communities associated with it. Thus, please don't go harassing the people involved. You are not better than them by doing so, and if these people are innocent, then you just look stupid. Now, with a heavy heart, I will now begin the video. And I'm so sorry that you have to watch this, Box, but my morals must stand strong in order for me to achieve my goals. Listen, AP Language and Composition lives rent free in my head, and we're about to do like a claim of policy right now. I'm going to be writing out like an essay on like a policy or something like that I believe should be enforced in relation to a certain topic, and I gotta put that information to use. Come on, please, like, bear with me now. Yes, they are simply false, because he is mostly in the right in this situation. So since the parties involved in this drama are not older than me, I have no obligation really to call them Mr. or Mrs. So from now on, you'll just hear the names Box and Beats in one corner, and Chris in the other corner. And since I think that Box is objectively worse than Chris, I will talk about Chris's faults first, because he's not entirely innocent in all of this. For each person's allegations, I'll build up both lists of allegations roughly from least severe to most severe. And let's just start off with the fact that I think, personally, first of all, that Chris is pretty immature. His quote-unquote debate, it wasn't really a debate, it was more of an argument with Pizza, the supposed 12-year-old, is just a mess. In my humble opinion, I think that throughout the entire stream, Chris was just really antagonizing Pizza through sounding a bit condescending, and made himself sound like he was of higher status than Pizza. The context behind this livestream is that from the evidence that's been presented, Chris invited Pizza over to a call to clarify about how Pizza wasn't breaking Discord TOS, terms of service, by being 12 when Discord requires you to be 13. This problem is also connected to Box, who we will talk about in a bit. Pizza insists that he's actually 14. Oh wait, no, he's 15. Oh wait, no, never mind. He's simultaneously somehow being 12, 13, 14, and 15, I think. Roll the clip.
Information.
That is not private information.
There's no reason to tell you that.
You said you're 12, right? I mean, no. You said you're 14, right? What is the year for that?
What?
It's already public information. If we know your age, then we know your fucking year. But what is it? Can you say it out loud?
14 years old.
Yeah, exactly. So what is the year of your birth? That's the same thing. It's telling you how long you were born. How many years were you born?
Too. I'm 13 and I'm 14 at the same time. And 15 maybe.
What? Yeah. So you're 3 different ages? 4?
Yeah, I'm 3 different ages, technically.
That's so you're 4 different ages?
Yeah, I'm 4 different ages.
Oh, that counts 12. Fucking idiot. Got you to admit it.
What?
Yeah, you just said you admitted 3 to your fans. I added 1 more. That's 12.
Okay. And honestly, personally, I don't really blame Chris at this point because he's talking to a 12-year-old. It's a confirmed 12-year-old, and I will explain why later on. That Pizza is 12. Anyways, I don't really blame Chris here, kind of, because at the same time, he's talking to a 12-year-old. That guy's like not even in high school yet, and I'll confirm that he's not in high school later on. And yeah, I don't really blame Chris here because he was talking to a literal child, but like not even child. We're all children at the end of the day. We're all underneath 18. But the Pizza was a 12-year-old. He's pretty immature and he's pretty, hot-headed. So I don't really blame Chris. But at the same time, he could have just been a bigger man and just left the Discord call at the end of the day. Because at the same time, he's also kind of engaging with this 12-year-old on Discord. So there is an argument there that he is breaking terms of service there. But at the same time, it's not really his fault because he's making allegations against this 12-year-old and BoxShorts. So it's important for him to be getting both sides of the story. But at the same time, there is, he could have just left the Discord call and just stopped engaging with this kid. Before I continue on with actual allegations, I would like to talk about a few things that people may or may not notice when they first scavenge through Chris's messages in his Discord server, and things that I discovered that look pretty weird out of context. And I'll just provide a quick explanation for all of that, and it was provided from Chris himself. First of all, this screenshot with a random dog or whatever, according to him, was a dog anyways. It's not really weird or anything like that. It was a video created by Jay Schlatt, and he was just in a watch party reacting to some Jay Schlatt content and just having a jolly good old time, nothing special. So basically, Chris was reacting to Jay Schlatt reacting to other content. It's nothing special, really. I'm watching the video that he was reacting to, and I'll add the exact timestamp if you guys want to watch it. We can also dive into the potentially homophobic allegations, such as him supposedly not doing anything about homophobia in his channel. States because they were most likely talking about BoxShorts, because it was during the time of November, and since the allegations started rolling in the beginning of November, and since they were on a Discord stage, I'm more inclined to believe Chris here, because this was definitely during the time when Box and Chris had beef. And also because, he also explained it himself, and I'm more inclined to believe him. And finally, I would like to talk about the potential ableist allegations. He might have made content out of someone saying the R slur. I'll give you all a hint. The slur sounds like restarted. Yeah, I didn't really know that was a slur either, not like I say it too much, because I don't really insult people using that word. It kind of felt really insulting to begin with whenever I even thought about it, and I either just say stupid or dumb or something like that. Maybe an occasional beach here and there, but other than that, I don't really update myself on slur lore. But anyways, did you know that, by the way, I'm so sorry to go on this weird tangent real quick, but did you know that apparently people were getting canceled for saying the word spook? And apparently, it was a slur. Like, during Halloween, people were getting canceled for saying the word spook because, apparently it was during the time where it was about Italian spies in World War II or something like that. I have no clue. But anyways, going back on topic, apparently what happened here is that his cousin said a slur, and he just decided to stream it, kind of like farm content out of it, as he says, as well as making a general PSA on why sticks and stones may break some bones, but those words can definitely be harmful to people, and people should never say those words, which they shouldn't, to be fair. And the amount of goodness this holds of him turning that into content is unknown to me. I'm kind of balanced on this part. On one hand, making content out of it is just really messed up, because you're kind of just making views out of a guy who said a slur, and you're just telling him it's not okay to say slurs and explaining why it's not okay to say slurs. But at the same time, it's good that he's making an example out of others. And for that, I want you all to decide really whether or not it's okay to record that, because I have too many arguments in favor and against at this time. And I just can't really dive through it right now, because number one, my brain is fried, and number two, I don't really see how that's a problem. But at the same time, I can kind of see how it's a problem. I'm more neutral on the subject of that. But anyways, here are the real allegations, and allegations shouldn't really be plural here. Going back to the stream, this was a mess of a stream, and for the most part, since Pizza didn't want to be recorded, but for some reason it's like homeostasis stuck in the call, it's like a homeostasis chamber to this guy. Chris should have been the bigger man and leave the call, because Pizza was clearly distraught over the fact that his real identity is getting exposed. But at the same time, this point is really moot to be making, because as Chris mentions, by joining the call, Pizza voluntarily wants to talk to him because he chose to click the button that transfers him to the call. There's not much else to say about that part, but overall, Chris probably should have been more mature than in that area and be the bigger man. But to be fair, he's like, I don't know, but he's older than 13. I don't know if he wants me to say what age he is, but he is in high school, so that is fair. High schoolers are pretty immature. Like, look at the person talking right now. I'm still immature, and I can tell you right now that I've done a lot of things I do regret, but putting that aside, I'm not here to talk about my things, like my sins and whatever. I'm here to talk about the allegations. The second thing I want to talk about in regards to Chris is that some of the things he has said in the past regarding religion, as well as certain other things, for example, are pretty bad. For example, take a look at this screenshot right here where he was just saying things like "fuck you, Jesus," Satan is underrated, and then reacted to a head screaming emoji followed by a fire emoji when someone said, "This is why I'm atheist." This is obviously very offensive to religion, making fun of people for their not so harmful beliefs. Now that I think about it, I kind of did make the argument that Catholicism is kind of harmful. But anyways, people should worship in whatever they want to worship as long as they don't, hurt anyone, which in this case they kind of are. But putting that aside, you should be able to worship what you want to worship, believe in whatever gods you want to believe, and people shouldn't be criticizing for you for it. Just as how people's not homosexuality in general, I'm overgeneralizing it. People who are LGBTQ and are part of the community, they're not harming anyone. Like, it's two consenting adults at the end of the day. Just like how it's just a consenting adult believing in this stuff without, I'm assuming not being brainwashed, which they kind of are, but we're putting that argument aside for now. But anyways, yeah, that he was kind of being offensive to religion here, and just kind of being religionist, if that's even a word. So yeah, that's kind of bad. You should be able to worship what you want to worship, and this guy should definitely, watch what he says whenever he talks about this stuff. Another thing that will be explained that he did was make a few sex jokes in his Discord server, like this one for instance. It's a pretty soft sex joke, as he said, and as far as I've explored, it is kind of soft, I guess, but it's still weird. And besides this picture of a guy in a maid costume, those two are the only instances I've seen of him saying anything sexual at all. If you want to relate, LGBTQ into this, maybe like fourth instance, both the religion and softcore sex jokes he explained are just, he explained that he was just being edgy, which is no excuse, but given the fact that he is just an edgy high schooler from the looks of it, I'd honestly put it aside, because he's just still immature, and we should still be holding him accountable for some of the things that he said here, and so that way he can learn more about it, because he's still just a kid, he still needs to learn that some of the things he's been saying are not okay. And of course, I'm 17, and that's a really weird and condescending thing to call a guy who's still immature, like calling him a kid. Like, he's barely younger than me. It's really weird for me to be calling him immature. But hey, it ain't you making the video, I'm the one recording. But anyways, just because he's young and new to the content creation space, that doesn't excuse the fact that he did a few inappropriate things with his fans, even though he himself is young enough to be his own fan. But I talked it out with him. I told him to be more careful about what he puts out there on the internet. And yeah, hopefully he learns his lesson. Hopefully he understands that it's not okay to be saying things like, fuck Jesus. Like, you can't be saying that. That's really offensive to religion, and we should be holding him accountable for that. I'm simply just a big fish in a small pond, really. He should know that there's better detectives than me out there who have the resources to find his mother's maiden name and the last 4 digits of his social security number. I would also like to let everyone know that this is completely possible, that Chris himself has been talking to people who are under the age of 13 himself, but currently there's no evidence to support that, like he's actually talking to them, other than the fact that he's not ever asking every single Discord user he talks to the question of, you are 13, correct? Like, he's not asking that to every single person he meets or something along those lines, and ask them for their birthday like he did with Pizza. But that's just a little nitpick that I think if he personally wants to follow those morals, he should really start doing, or else he'd be a major freaking hypocrite. And in the sense, he is majorly in the wrong, because, pot calling kettle black or whatever the term is. However, it's also worth noting that legally speaking, if you accept the terms and conditions, you tell Discord you're over 13, and thus Chris has every right to assume that they're 13. So really, that's fair enough, I guess. The only real thing that I've gotten Chris on is he's getting out of ban evasions and spamming Box's chat with messages.
What are those rights? Mr. Potato Hobson, thanks for the potatoes, man. Why are you transphobic? I still have access to the account. I've told them multiple times to remove me from it. I'm not gonna fucking do anything drastic, like change the name or anything, but I have another role that I want to use.
But first of all, although to be fair, in one of the worst ways possible he could have done it, he did this in an attempt to spread the word that Box is allegedly homophobic, and what he's doing what he thought was right. And also, to be fair, people aren't even chatting in there. Everyone is dead. They are literally just watching, like, not even watching. It's just bots watching a guy in a minecart the entire time. But this isn't right. If you're gonna call someone out for TOS, then you better abide by those rules yourself, or else you are a hypocrite and you could potentially get banned. This also technically counts as harassment, since you've been spamming his live streams with stuff like, why are you homophobic, and stuff like that. However, we will get to Box's harassment in a moment. You also show yourself going around terminated parts of your account by creating new accounts, which is breaking terms of service, and that's how you're evading your bans and terminations, because you are circumventing the terminations to parts of your YouTube service. And that's really it. Going outside of the terms and service of YouTube real quick as a vigilante's point of view, that's still kind of justified because Box is limiting his right to speech because Chris is exposing Box with all this evidence and stuff. But still, Chris, you gotta know that you gotta follow terms and service if you're gonna call him out on TOS. At least have some consistency. And yeah, that's really about it for Chris. I think I covered it all. Overall, he's just an immature person who really needs to work on how to be a better role model for his fans on this platform, and how, he's also being a hypocrite by breaking TOS through evading terminated parts of his account. And we are working out his problems right now and potential solutions one-on-one. I'm telling him, like, hey, don't do this because of X, Y, and Z and stuff like that. And I also don't see myself collaborating with him anytime soon, simply because, one, I'm 17, bro, I don't want to catch a case, and two, our content styles are just so diverse that I don't really think that I can collaborate with him or work with him a lot other than telling him what I think is right and what is wrong on this platform based on a logical argument. But someone has to stand up for the little guy in the scenario. He's got approximately 23 to 24 times less subscribers than Box, and he's just getting clowned on by his community, or lack thereof. I'm not really sure if Box has a community at this rate. And another thing that I want to add on is that although Box and Pizza really probably haven't seen this yet, Box and Pizza did say that Chris's fans were harassing him. And he did mention in a statement that he put out in his Discord server, and I quote, "I request that no hate gets sent to Box, although I know how people are, the statement means nothing." And although that last part was really unnecessary and definitely took away the impact of the situation and him requesting people not to harass him, at least he talked about the situation and told his fans not to go absolutely trashing and hating on Box. Yeah, Chris seemed like a hypocrite here for literally ban evading and breaking YouTube TOS in order to spam his chat, even though there's no one in that chat. Things are about to go downhill really quick, and Box, I'm sorry to say this, but it's your turn to stand on trial, and I don't think I like the verdict I'm gonna have to read out here. First, let's start off with the pizza section and slowly transition over to the BoxShorts allegations. I would like to say, first off, there is an overwhelming amount of evidence Pizza is not the age he claims to be, and he is most likely in fact breaking terms of service. First off, when confronted with the question of "what's your birthday" posted by Chris, Pizza responded with a lot of vicious defense of his privacy, which of course he has every right to do. If I had the right to privacy and I didn't want to spread my own personal information such as my birthday, I'd want to hide it too, like in the case of Pizza. However, there are several other bits of evidence that tells me he is most likely lying about his age. First of all, one of his fans actually came out and just snitched on Pizza. Like, snitches got stitches, dude. Like, really, you probably shouldn't have done that if you wanted to defend Pizza. But let's just assume that the guy's a big fat liar and that Pizza really is probably 14. Second, my point is, he and Box maintain the narrative that Pizza is 14. I don't know about you guys, but when I was in 14, I was in 8th grade. Of course, this is irrelevant since I live in California. However, according to a website called EDUWW, 14 is the lowest age for 9th graders, aka high school. When I asked Pizza for his schedule, he lists out ELA, social studies, religion, which I didn't even know was a class, but probably because I live in California, AP Science, which he's not really specific about, and AP Science alone isn't really acknowledged as a class. But what really gets the ball rolling, what really had me rolling in my grave, what really had me just sigh and, just gasp at disbelief was he lists AP Algebra. I genuinely felt like I watched my players lose the Olympics. I feel like I just watched 9/11 for the second time, even though I never watched 9/11, but on a much smaller scale, of course. And point is, AP Algebra, as of December 16, 2024, is not acknowledged by College Board, the corporation or whatever running AP classes. They are not acknowledging AP Algebra as a legitimate AP class that you can earn college credit for. You want to know why? It's because Algebra 2 is a minimum requirement to even graduate at the school they go to. Pizza would have known that if he was in high school, he would know that AP Algebra is not a course that college board offers college credit for. And also, no, I'm not going to leak where they live. That would be doxing, and that I'm not allowed to do, and I'm not going to do it. What wouldn't be doxing, though, is quote-unquote leaking this fake schedule that you had the audacity to give me when I simply wanted the truth from you guys. You could have made this so much easier upon yourselves, but you decided to try and use my argumentation skills as a way of justifying your horrible ideologies and actions, which I have yet to even scratch the surface of. Speaking of such actions, let's move on to you, Box. I'm actually disappointed. I had less disappointment for this girl who tried to stab me with a pair of scissors back in 2nd grade in the computer lab, and another time tried to swing on me and my friends with a baseball bat. True story, I'll do a story time video when more people watch my videos. I have more respect for her than I do for you, Box, because at least she was actually funny, stupid. You, on the other hand, have allegedly done some racist things, allegedly done some homophobic things, and allegedly admitted to transphobia. And before we get into this, like Chris, let's build up to the major points. Second of all, the screenshot. Oh, brother, yeah, that's not a good look. Encouraging your fans to break Discord TOS is not a good look. And you yourself are harboring fugitives like Pizza by telling kids not to be open about their ages, which if they are old enough, they would be smart enough not to be in the first place. But they aren't, because they are under the age of 13, which is Discord's main gripe, that you agree to be 13. And just the fact that you say, oh, don't be open about your age, guys, don't let people know about your real age, even though they are under the age for the terms of service. That's such a weird look, Box. That is so, like, disgustingly eerie and so creepy. That's something that Epstein would have done. That is genuinely something that Epstein would have done. And no, I'm not saying that your Discord servers are Epstein Island. I'm just saying, this is just such a weird thing to be telling your audience, dude. But you know what? I'm only at the top of the iceberg. Let's go down even further. This is the part where we start to talk about some pretty disturbing stuff right here. Where do we even begin? Okay, so let's start off first by taking a look at one of your videos titled Master Oogway videos. Titled Master Oogay. I don't know what's up with that, but continuing on, you even said in this clip that you don't care that he said the N-word.
And then, like, a few weeks later, like I said, like a week or two later, he uploaded a song called I'm Sorry for Saying the N-Word. I don't know if you know who this guy is, but he's obviously not very remorseful, and at the end of the song, he says the N-word once again for shock value. I don't care about the fact that he said the N-word. I'm not even offended. I mean, but I wouldn't even get offended by any word you'd call me, or call somebody else. But just saying something just to get a rise out of people is...
I don't even care about the fact you said the N-word. I just care that you're trying to get money out of saying the N-word. It's crazy to say.
Do I really need to explain why you saying that is really racist? And I can't even believe I gotta say this, but I can smell the comments a mile away. I can smell that some goofy goober is gonna ask, why can't we say these words? They're just words. And I had to explain to someone why saying slurs was bad at one point, so I actually know how to talk about this. Words have meanings, and saying slurs is meant to be a term that puts people down in their place and implies that they are inferior. However, we as a society have established that we are all equal no matter what. Therefore, by trying to put down other people, that simply means that we are implying that a certain category sounds far superior than another group of people. And guess who else did that? That's right. The Team Not C's, the guy with the goofy square mustache. So using a slur is related to the mindset that the main villains in World War II, the sequel, had. And I know it's a hard line in the sand to draw, but once you start thinking about slurs as a way of putting people down, which they are, that's when you start to realize that you're simply putting down another group of people as inferior to you, when in reality we are all equal, except kid diddlers, human traffickers, scalpers, and the like. They're pretty low on the totem pole. But you know what? Let's go even lower. I'm gonna cut the bull nuts and get straight to the point. You're homophobic and transphobic. Let's start off with the homophobia, because you were just okay with being a transphobe and homophobe right here. Look at this clip.
So,
Oh gosh.
what the fuck?
Point, bro.
Okay, okay, sorry, let me recollect for a minute. I'm gonna turn on my... Never mind. Okay, so, what The fuck? What? Where was I
Yeah,
going
yeah,
with
yeah,
that?
yeah. I'm a transphobe, I'm a homophobe.
Whoa,
I
whoa,
deserve to
whoa!
die. Whatever.
Whoa!
gosh,
I
what
was
did you
not
just
even.
say?
What? I didn't even say anything about transphobe. I
Are you
didn't even hear
jumping to
that.
conclusions now? We're box
That's
shorts?
not what I was saying. I'm here to ask questions, not assume. That's why I'm in the call right now. If I was trying to assume, I would have already said fuck box, like all that. I don't really care.
You just said that.
Now, shut up. I don't really care all that much. I'm just trying to get.
I'll tackle the homophobia in a moment, but let's take a look at your transphobia accusations. Why didn't you defend yourself? Throughout this entire stream, not once did you go, I'm not a transphobic person, or something resembling that. And by you not defending yourself from the allegations against yourself, your worst damn enemy is yourself, by the way. You admit to being that. You literally bring it up from the top turnbuckle like a twist from Jujutsu Kaisen, where Sukuna keeps making binding vows out of freaking nowhere in exchange for not using the world-cutting slash roulette incantations. And in exchange, Sukuna can't eat pickled beans on Thursdays between the hours of 7 to 8 a.m. Like, that's how random and oddly specific your own allegations are. And you downplay it too. Let me show the clip. Yeah, you don't even reject the idea of you being a homophobe or transphobe. You simply downplaying it by saying whatever, making it seem as if, yeah, whatever, so what? Who isn't transphobic, you know? Like, come on, I thought you were better than this. And finally, to get to the cream of the crop, the homophobia. First of all, you don't defend yourself from homophobia, and you literally allege against yourself that you're homophobic, so all the arguments I said are still applicable. Second of all, I even have more evidence. According to these chat logs that you sent me, you literally admit, and I quote, I did technically kick my cousin out of the channel, giving him the reason of him being gay, but we solved the drama eventually, and I told my cousin the actual reason why I kicked him out, for spreading ideologies on my channel I just wasn't fine with. But that was a different drama involving Kristopher, and my cousin and I made up. First of all, did you change the reason why you kicked him out? That's so wrong in and of itself. Well, okay, so you sound insincere because you're not even sure why you kicked him out yourself from the sound of it, and you're just finding excuses to justify as to why you kick him out, and you're trying to pathetically justify it. Second of all, what the hell do you mean it was all drama you and your cousin made up? You ran a goddamn harassment campaign against them and ravaged your not ravaged your followers. You had your followers ravage the poor guy. You didn't even discourage it either. You're telling them to hold back like a bunch of dogs on a leash that's about to snap. But those parts don't even matter because you said he was spreading ideologies you just weren't fine with, such as him not, spreading ideologies such as, him telling people not to be saying things that are offensive to LGBTQ people. So you kicked him out for people not using what I assume to be offensive language towards a group of people? You're kicking him out for him encouraging people not to be harassing people of LGBTQ? What the hell, man? You shouldn't even be doing half these things. Oh, by the way, we're just gonna ignore him photoshopping boobs or whatever on his own cousin because that's just a normal thing to do now, I guess. Since I literally don't have time to talk about that. You guys can have fun talking about it in the comments. But anyways, yeah, that's all I really have to talk about. Overall, Chris could have been more mature in the situation, and also the fact that he was breaking TOS also makes him a hypocrite. But Box was significantly worse here. He literally admits to being a homophobe and a transphobe, which I explained why it's not really good to be those things, because, they're people, they're normal people, it doesn't really matter, they just have different interests from us. And on top of that, I didn't write an outro here, so I'm just freestyling it right now. But anyways, oh, sorry, I had a burp. Anyways, so yeah, that's really about it. Also on Box's side, he admitted to being homophobic and transphobic. So that's pretty bad. And one final thing I would like to say is that I sincerely apologize for collaborating with this guy. I should have done my research. And I don't know if I even can because I don't really have time to scroll through everyone's content. So what I would do better, obviously, is that, first of all, I apologize for collaborating with this guy. And second of all, I will see if I can find and assemble a team that would be dedicated to looking at content creators content, like the ones that want to collaborate with me. I will have some people look through their content, watch, see if they can find anything that's weird, and we're still going to be making content out of that either way. If they don't have any offensive content, great, we're going to be collaborating with them. But if they do find offensive content, then I'll point it out, and either way, a video will be made. So yeah, that's really about it. That's all I really have to say. Once again, I'm really sorry for my past. I know this doesn't mean much, but I hope you all can come to a mutual understanding that I'm still trying to learn about these things. And at the end of the day, I am still trying to learn, and I'm trying to learn about the society around me. I have school in like 5 minutes, so I gotta go. I hope you all have a good day. Stay safe out there. Stay open-minded. And remember, always be logical about things. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. I hope you all have a good day. And bye.